I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks very much for joining us for our special weather video today. We're tracking two storms, one in New Zealand and the other one approaching Queensland, Australia, a tropical cyclone named Kimi. But let's get into the forecast for New Zealand to begin with. And as you can see, there is a lot of low pressure on the wind map today. This is the air pressure map as well as showing where the winds are. It's showing the low pressure here in this darker colouring, high pressure out here in the white and the yellows. So there's a lot of high pressure to our north and out to our west. That's making for a big squash zone in that middle area between the highs and the lows. So this area here, basically where the two colours meet. And that's where we're going to see these big windy westerlies through Cook Strait and other parts of New Zealand really picking up over the next 24 to 36 hours. And then it turns colder southerly. Wednesday is a much cooler day across the country. So let's try and make sense of all of this because there is quite a bit to cover. Kicking off with lunchtime Tuesday and this storm approaching New Zealand. So that squash zone of wind I just talked about, this is it out here at sea and coming in around the upper South Island, central New Zealand, lower North Island, Wellington, Cook Strait area, in other words. Winds in the afternoon, this is lunchtime, but winds in the afternoon will ramp up even further. Gusts on the hilltops around Wellington, like Mount Coco, might get up to 160 k's an hour, which is very, very strong. In the city itself, we expect gale force winds around 60 k's an hour, not 160, 60, but gusting over 100, maybe 120 k's an hour through some parts of Wellington later on into Tuesday. So it's quite a significant day. Fair bit of rain on the west coast, falling a bit as snow as that colder air gets closer up into the mountains. Let's take a look at the winds now. So these pick up. This is 6 p.m. on Tuesday. Worst winds are here around Wellington. They'll continue to pick up, but as you can see, all these areas in that pink purple colouring, over 100 k's an hour up to about 150 in the gusts. For the most part, they're around 100 to 120 k's an hour through all these purple pink shaded areas. And then you can see just south of New Zealand, that's the centre of the storm where the winds are at their worst. So they're averaging maybe 100 k's an hour out at sea. So that's a very significant area of wind, but it's circling just south of New Zealand, but it's definitely one to keep an eye on as we go in towards Wednesday. It's not just the wind that's going to be an issue on Tuesday night. The seas are getting very, very rough. Now, a lot of people say to me they find it a bit hard to kind of read this area here, all the different layers. So what I say to you is, start with a colour you can see, like gold. That's right there. And then you can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 9 different layers beyond that gold. Takes you right down here into that 12, 13 metre mark. And that's pretty significant. And it covers, by the way, half of the west coast. So Hokitika, very dangerous beach conditions forming around you later on Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning. And then those big swells move further up into Greymouth, Westport, coming in also around Southland, dangerous conditions. And if you're on the other side of the country up here going, well, look, our seas are flat, you've got the strong winds though. So if you're on a floatable device, the wind could blow you out to sea, and we do see that. We do see people getting caught up with lilos and things being blown out to sea with these strong westerlies. So my advice is stay out of the water for the next few days, unless you're in a very calm, sheltered area and you know about the conditions going on. Let's move through. There's a lot more to cover. So Wednesday lunchtime, the storm weakening a tiny bit. The modelling here suggests it won't make a landfall. It's been very borderline that it might just come into Southland and Otago. But either way, the worst of those winds are still coming in. And now those winds that we saw out at sea, just down here, they are now moving into Fiordland and Southland, and maybe moving into Otago later as well. It's not a totally locked in thing, that big cold southerly, as far as it being damaging, but the cold is locked in. So you're going to see those temperatures drop right back on Wednesday. The whole country is colder than average on Wednesday, but you'll find some areas are over 10 degrees below normal as this cold southerly surges its way up and across the country. And by the way, eastern areas like Canterbury, the eastern North Island, and up here north of from Auckland northwards, rainfall totals are very low, below average still. That's what we said at the start of this month at Weather Watch, that we don't think the rain's really coming back for Northlands and Auckland just yet, not in a way that makes everybody relax anyway. Okay, temperature-wise on Wednesday, the below normal map, the departure from normal, shows almost everyone below average, but the areas in green, that means there's no shading. You've got bang on average temperatures. So you can see that's quite normal around the eastern side of Northland, the far north, Coromandel Peninsula, also around the eastern side of, say, like Mahia Peninsula and Gisborne. And further down the country, you might be surprised that even some parts of Canterbury may not be below average as we go into tomorrow. And that's because of a bit of a warming up effect of those winds coming in and over all the hills and ranges of Southland and Otago. All right, into Thursday. A windy sou'wester across the country with showers. Again, it's dry in most eastern areas, and the temperatures start to lift up a little bit further in the south. Still might be a little cool in the north. Look at the snowfall accumulation. This is by Friday morning, so the next 4 days worth of snow. This is quite remarkable. These areas in pink and yellow, that's in this area here, getting up to anywhere between about 1 metre and 1.5 metres of snow accumulating between now and early Friday morning. That's quite remarkable. Some of it will fall on the remarkables. But as you can see, it's not going very low down. This is really up in the mountains, really above 1,000 metres, so it's quite high up. But if you're camping and tramping, you're going to feel this if you're in and around the South Island. Lunchtime Friday shows high pressure pushing back in to northern New Zealand. It'll still be a little bit of a sou'wester through Auckland, bit of cloud, the odd little light shower possible, otherwise dry, and warmer nor'westers coming back in for the south. And our final map for Saturday shows high pressure in control of the top of New Zealand, but windy sou'westers elsewhere. This is sort of high pressure in this zone, and La Nina, if you're wondering what's going on, all the rainmakers are up here. And now that leads us to Australia. We've got Cyclone Kimi up here. Now, at the time we recorded this on Monday, just coming up towards lunchtime, this was a Category 1 cyclone expected by the Bureau of Meteorology to get up to Category 2. But it's not likely to go further than that because, as you can see, it's running into high pressure. This is all the high pressure belt further down in towards New South Wales, further down towards Brisbane. And so as this storm comes in, it's going to get wind shear, basically torn apart at higher levels in the atmosphere. And that you can already see it's happening here to the shape of it. It doesn't have that perfectly circular shape, sort of being squashed a wee bit on the southern end of it. And that's because of the wind shear effect running into this high pressure belt. But Cairns is certainly in the risk zone. This is the tracking from the Joint Typhoon Warning Centre. It is showing the storm coming straight on into Cairns. That's a direct hit for Cairns there. Now this is using all the various international modelling, but the official source in Australia, the Bureau of Meteorology, they had a slightly different path, showing it further out to sea and coming in a lot further down the coastline. So one to keep an eye on. If you're anywhere from Cairns southwards, I would say keep a very close eye on this. Townsville's likely to be on the outer edges of the risk zone. It certainly looks like it's going to pull in because of that big high and the easterlies that high is generating. It'll come down to a certain point and then that easterly hits it and knocks it inland, pulls it apart, and you end up with a rainmaker coming through. So this is more about the rain and dangerous seas than it is about anything else. So don't forget to keep up to date with the Bureau of Meteorology tracking Cyclone Kimi, spelt K-I-M-I, nice and easy to spell and to say, and that one will be around for the next couple of days. That is all from me. A lot to talk about for so early in the year. We'll be back again on Tuesday with our next update as the storm moves into New Zealand, and also another quick update on what's going on with Kimi.